Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. It is Friday. Can you believe it? We already made it to the weekend. Well, this week we have been focusing on a character in the Bible named Aaron. Aaron was Moses' brother, and we've been kind of walking through scripture, mainly in Exodus, and learning about him and who he was and what he did. And so far we've been sharing some really cool stories from the Bible about incredible things that he did and how God used him. And it wouldn't be fair to not share a bad moment in his life. Because just like you, just like me, he was not perfect and he made some pretty big mistakes too. And so today we're going to read about one of the biggest ones that he did. This is found in Exodus chapter 32. Now, just to give you a little backstory, what's happening right before this is that the people are paused. The Israelites are in the wilderness. They're paused. Moses is up on the mountain experiencing the presence of God, and God is revealing the 10 commandments to him. The only problem is he's been gone for quite some time, and now the people down at the bottom of the base of the mountain are getting a little restless, and Aaron was left behind and in charge. Let's see what happens. Exodus chapter 32, beginning in verse 1. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, "Come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us up out of Egypt, we don't even know what happened to him." Whew, okay, so the Israelite people are just a different type of people. Actually, they're very much like you and I, but that's another time, another story for another time. They were getting restless. They were getting impatient. They were getting annoyed. They didn't want to wait for Moses anymore. They wanted something to happen. And so they go to Aaron and they say, "Hey, make us gods. Let's just keep going." Whew, what did Aaron do in that moment? It's a crucial moment. Listen to what he did. In verse 2, it says, Aaron answered them, "Take off the gold earrings that your wives, your sons, and your daughters are wearing and bring them to me." So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed him and made it into an idol, cast in the shape of a calf, fashioning it with a tool. Then they said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." When Aaron saw this, he built an altar in front of the calf and announced, "Tomorrow there will be a festival to the Lord." So the next day the people rose early and sacrificed burnt offerings and presented fellowship offerings. Afterward they got down to eat and drink and got up to indulge in revelry. Now, if you read through the story of the Israelites in the wilderness and their deliverance from Egypt, God is very clear that they are not to have any other idols. They're not to have any other thing that they worship. They're not to have statues or poles or people, or they're not to worship anything but the Lord their God. And yet here they are, upset, frustrated, and what does Aaron say? "Let's make an idol. Let's make a gold calf and worship it." Whew, not good. If you read on in the story in this chapter, God reveals to Moses that something's happened at the base of the mountain. He encourages him to head on down. Moses goes down, he sees what's happening, and he gets upset. Verse 25, Moses saw that the people were running wild and that Aaron had let them get out of control and so became a laughingstock to their enemies. So he stood at the entrance to the camp and said, "Whoever is for the Lord, come to me." And all the Israelites rallied around him. Then he said to them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Each man strap a sword to his side, go back and forth through the camp from one end to the other, killing his brother, his friend, and his enemy." We're going to just jump down to verse 35, and it says, "And the Lord struck the people with a plague because of what they did with the calf Aaron had made." I encourage you to read that chapter. There's a lot going on in there, but basically God punished them for their disobedience. What's interesting here is, where did the disobedience start from? Well, it started from the people. They were grumbling, but where could it have stopped? With the leader. Aaron was the leader, and he could have squelched that right away. He could have ended it immediately and said, "No, we're going to wait for Moses to come back. We're going to trust the Lord our God." But instead he gave in to the people. He gave in to the influence. He didn't want to ruffle any feathers. Maybe he wanted to be popular. Maybe he wanted to be fun. Maybe he was upset. Who knows, right? But in that moment, he didn't cling to God. Instead, he cared about public opinion. We can do that too, can't we? You know, as followers of Christ, we put our faith in Jesus, but every day we have choices if we're going to continue to trust Jesus. When we are given opposition from other people, or when someone is maybe persecuting us, or someone's making fun, or a hard circumstance comes and it looks like God isn't as faithful as he seemed yesterday, every day we have choices. Are we going to continue to trust in the Lord, or are we going to waver in that? the beautiful thing about this story as it comes full circle is that although God did punish them for their disobedience, God continued, as he only does, to be faithful to them. He continued to provide for them. He continued to use Aaron. He didn't say, oh, Aaron, you messed up, you're done. He continued to use Aaron as he was obedient. And so even when we do make mistakes, even when we do waver, even when we do turn aside, as soon as we turn back to the Lord, he graciously accepts us back in. Think about your influence today. As a follower of Jesus Christ, you are an influential person in your sphere of influence. There are people all around you that you might be the only Jesus that they see. You are his ambassador, his example in your neighborhood, in your community, in your workplace, in your home. And although we're not going to be perfect, just like Aaron wasn't perfect, each day we have an opportunity to represent him well. Think today about the opportunities that God has given you, the people that are looking to you for leadership, that are looking to you for your faith, that are looking to you for how you handle circumstances because you are a follower of Christ. Ask God for strength to stand up boldly in that opportunity that he has given you. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope to see you again tomorrow as we finish out the week with our last daily dose for spiritual growth.